Hi and welcome to this next presentation here at ABG Sundal Collier Introduce Investor Days. My name is Simon Granat. I am covering IT and tech companies as an equity analyst here at ABG. And with us today we have the pleasure of welcoming Christian Sodin, who is the CEO of Formpipe. Without further ado, I'll let the word over to you, Christian.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi everyone. My name is Christian Sundin. I'm the CEO of Formpipe Software. Formpipe Software is a software company within the space of ECM, Enterprise Content Management. To make it really simple in explanation, we're doing the things that the ERP systems are doing for figures. We're doing those for words and documents. So keeping good order of your digital information. So anyone that thinks that the ever-increasing amount of digital information is valid and important and valuable for their business is in need of an enterprise content management system. We are really strong in the markets of public sector in Sweden and Denmark, but we also have an offering for the private industry worldwide through a partner network, where we very often are helping the ERP systems to be even more powerful in their offering in terms of document management on top of the ERP systems. Especially strong are we with helping the dynamic suite of Microsoft to become even better in document management. We're about 230 employees. We are with strong presence in Denmark, Sweden, UK, the Netherlands, Germany, and the US. And we have most of our product development on offshore basis in Ukraine, and an additional 50 people on a contractual basis. So, Formpipe at a glance in terms of numbers, we had in 2019 a turnover of a little bit less than 40 million euro, whereof 25 million euro is in recurring revenue, and that is what we think is essential part of our revenue. The other revenue there is in terms of services is mostly in order to facilitate our sales and growth of recurring revenue. We have, as I said, the recurring revenue is our pride, and we have, well, about 60% of our revenue is recurring revenue. We have a margin on EBITDA of about 25%, and we're listed on small cap, the Nasdaq in Stockholm, under the abbreviation of FPIP, and had a market cap at least the other day, prior to the corona thing, of approximately 1 billion Swedish or 100 million euros, slightly below that at this speaking moment. Enterprise content management, in very brief, it's not rocket science. Most of you have worked with enterprise content management in some way. If you've had a Word document and saved it in some sort of a folder structure within Windows Explorer and named that folder with some sort of logic, you have worked with document management. If you then change that Word document and add a PDF document on the side, and then you rename the document to RevB of that document, yeah, you actually worked with records management, because then you have traceability in the changes. If you send that Word document through an email to a co-worker and ask for their addition to the Word document, and they are also adding an Excel sheet on the side and say, yeah, your Word document looks fine, and here's my additional Excel sheet. Yeah, then you have both worked with collaboration and workflow, because you also have approval of a decision. If you publish that on an intranet site or a website, yeah, you worked with web content management. So, of course, that's not how our systems are working. We are making it within the system. It's business critical processes. It's make sure that you don't see a bunch of different Word documents and you don't know which is the latest approved version. You only see one of them, you see the latest version, but you can then go back in thousands of versions before and make sure to find out who did what change at what time, what was the information prior to that change, and so forth. And it's all collected together so that you have the right information at the right time in the right context to the right people. That is what enterprise content management is in general. Then we have offerings in input and output management, how we get information into the ECM system, which is also valid for into ERP systems in our world, and on the other side, the output management side. Then perhaps the very most interesting part of this slide is the preservation or archiving and long-term archiving in our world. Doesn't sound that sexy with archiving, but it is actually much more than archiving. It's a matter of making sure that you can, independent on how much time that has passed, you can have your information and you can put it in the right context. You can read it regardless if Oracle, Microsoft, Adobe, or even Formpipe do no longer exist. You can still see your information and put it in an original context and understand it and see what other information it belongs to. But also, this is a facilitator for the cloud migration. And cloud migration is a big thing. Both Gartner and Microsoft consider cloud migration, also often called as system retirement, as a way for the one with the cloud strategy and having a lot of legacy systems that are on-premise to move them to the cloud. You need something, and you need to safeguard your current data. Yeah, what you do then is you take the data from the legacy system and put them in a long-term archive that you put in the cloud. Then through strong APIs, you can then switch on several new softwares for the use that the legacy software had, and you still can access all your historical data that you have in the archive. So cloud migration is a big facilitator for the move to the cloud of all software within an enterprise or an organization. So ECM is stable and growing market. We're very strong in Sweden and Denmark, and there's actually lower growth in Sweden and Denmark than in the world in general. That's because Sweden and Denmark, in terms of digitalization, has been front runners, so it's slightly less in growth there, but still a steady growth in the market in general. And up to today, the structural drivers has been, to a large extent, laws and regulations, and also government initiatives, and us being really strong in the public sector is an advantage for us, because the public sector has, in terms of enterprise content management, being front runners. Government initiatives and stuff like that has driven Sweden and Denmark to be really strong on digitalization, on case and document management. So I'm going back to the slide with Formpipe at a glance, and yeah, it looks neat all over this page. However, you could argue that, is there any growth in this company? Looking on it from 18 to 19, no, it's not. However, we're a product company, a true software company. The things, as I mentioned initially, we want to grow is mainly our recurring revenue and software revenue. The delivery revenue is there only to support the growth of the software revenue. And the delivery revenue, that's the light gray bars in this graph. So if I take those out of the equation, because we do prefer our partners to do all of that, and we want to minimize the delivery capacity as much as possible without hurting the growth of recurring revenue and software revenue. So taking that out of the equation, this is what we get then. Yeah, then as a software company, we are a growth company. So we have growth. However, it might not be as super impressive as you would like to see on a growth company. And why is that? Yeah, there is an ongoing shift from traditional license sales on-premise to software as a SaaS, software as a service, cloud offerings of software instead. We focus on the growth of recurring revenue. So taking out the dark gray bars here, which is the on-premise license sales, which you see decline year by year here, and then look on the recurring revenue, i.e. maintenance fees and software as a service as a total. These are our recurring revenue. Yeah. Then we have quite significant growth over many years. We have a 10% average growth since 2014 on the recurring revenue up to 2019. So as a recurring revenue, the software as a service company, we are a growth company. So 10%, you could still argue, yeah, is that really a growth company? It's solid growth. It's better than the market. It's good growth. It's healthy growth, and it's profitable growth. If we really want to stand out and look on where we're growing rapidly, it's the software as a service, as I said, rapid shift towards that. In 2017, entering that year, we had approximately 10 million in software as a service revenue. Finishing 2019, yeah, we have almost 50 million in software as a service. So in these 3 years, we've grown from 10 to 50 million in software as a service. That is rapid growth. This has negative short-term effects on profitability and margins. However, we also see now, looking on this rolling 12 months of the pink graph is traditional license sales rolling 12 months. The purple one is software as a service revenue. And as you can see this shift now, the curves has actually crossed each other. It's not fully compensating because the top level back a few years ago was like 75 million in on-premise sales and 10 million in SaaS. We're now on a total sum of a little bit less than 75, 80 million on the sum of those two graphs. But we are getting to a situation where the SaaS growth will compensate for even further decline in traditional license sales. And what we know is that traditional license sales will probably never go down to zero because there are specific type of customer that will continue to buy traditional license. But we also know even if that happens, it can't go below zero, and the software as a service growth is continuing to happen. So this will help us in terms of margin, in terms of cash flow, and profitability in general going forward. And we're close to that, to getting to that phase where we're no longer short-term suffering from the transition. During this transition period, we have, however, been able to improve our margin despite the fact that both delivery revenue and traditional license sales are going down. We have been able to improve our margins. And we have, during this time, also paid off all our loans. So we are now net cash positive. And this is to a large extent through our strategy of driving recurring revenue, stable, predictable money going in with a solid positive cash flow and margins. And then to finish this off, why is recurring revenue? I mentioned the word 100 times the last 15 minutes, I believe. But this is really the beauty of it. It's the risk of the business decreases day by day. And we're now up covering more than 85% of our operating cost with the recurring revenue. And that is reduced risk in our business. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Christian. And let's continue this presentation with a couple of questions on my behalf.
Yeah. Great.
So initially, I must ask how the coronavirus situation is affecting your operations. Perhaps you can comment both on the supply side, meaning your delivery, and also on the demand side from customers.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell, and it would borderline be naive to believe that I could tell what will happen in the near future. I mean, we're following the progress really closely. To this point, we see no major effect for us. To 99%, we can work from distance. We do that both in delivery and in customer contact and support. We're able to do that from distance. And we see that working great with digital meeting instead of physical meetings. We also have an advantage of being ISO 27001 certified company. So the risk mitigation, the processes, we have a robustness in our business in handling crises, even though that concerns mostly IT security. But since we have an operation set up for that, we can handle quite well almost any crisis and have preparations for being able to work on distance and so forth. So we have so far not been very hard struck by this. Quite opposite, we don't in near time we don't see a lot of effect at all. Of course, if this extends for a long period of time, we see that new sales to new customers, especially in the private industry, will probably be fewer customers launching new ERP projects that in its term drives our sales of document management to the ERP world. I foresee that will be hurt in that case. Having such a strong base of recurring revenue, that is not affected. Of course, the growth of recurring revenue, if this is prolonged for a long time, will be hurt. But I would say that we will be less hurt than most other companies. But of course, it will have effects also for us. That's my view today. But time will tell. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And I guess as a follow-up question, because you have established a quite broad client base comprising of many different organizations,
yeah.
What has the historical churn rate been like for your company, and what is the churn that you are experiencing?
It's very low, especially in the public sector space. It's barely close to zero. Of course, there are offerings from our side that becomes obsolete and so forth. But the core base of our customer, they when they bought our products, they stay because they see the value of them and they increase their investment. So that is close to zero in churn. When it comes to the document management close to the ERP sector, the private industry, we have a bigger churn, and that is mainly due to that. Yeah, companies being acquired and then changing ERP system, then there's no longer a use for our software that is connected to the old ERP system and so forth. So there is a churn for that reason within the private sector, but it's it's single digit at most. So that's our churn historically. So and also on the Corona topic, I mean both public sector, Denmark and Sweden, and actually the Danish government just yesterday communicated that it's important that public sector continue to do all the products they have planned in order not to hurt the private industry even further in this crisis. So the public sector space seems to be that will probably be quite stable, even depending on how long this drags out, of course. But that's so our concern is mainly in the new sales in the private industry for us.
And it has now been a couple of years ago since you lastly acquired a company. While you have a robust balance sheet and generates healthy cash flows, what do you think about the M&A topic at the current state? What specific companies would you potentially be looking at?
Well, I mean, we have really never abandoned the M&A track. We've always been open for M&A as a complement to our organic growth. But it has not been top priority either. I mean, during 2019 we made a huge internal work task of looking on who we want to be and what sort of internal structures we want to have and what we want to help our customers with, to be getting from several business units to one company, and also building support systems and structures and processes for that. And the ISO 27001 was a part of that robustness in building one Formpipe. That puts us in a position to better integrate future acquisitions if we find potential ones that we think will add on to our offering, to our customer base. So we're much better positioned to integrate and realize the synergies of those than we were a few years back, when we sort of had more of an approach that we buy something that complements, but to a large extent will let the acquired object run as it was, and just looking on small cost synergies and so forth. So we're in much better position doing to actually integrate future objects that we find value generating. I have several ideas on what could complement our offerings. It's both in terms of bandwidth, in terms of getting out to in the world, in the private sector, in terms of better partner support, and then be able to attract even more partners. But it's also on the product side to have a better, bigger customer base to market our already current existing products to. So there are thoughts about it, but the main thing for me in terms of M&A, that is the robustness of our company right now, and as you pointed out, net cash and so forth, the position that we are in to actually integrate a future acquisition more successfully.
And in recent years, you have gradually intensified your collaborations with partners.
Yeah.
What would you say are the pros and cons for these activities that you have done?
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong in terms of that. I mean, in Denmark, we do not work in public sector with partners. We do it ourselves. We see great use of that, being closer to the customer, being helping them on their digitalization journey, and being part of actually improving society in general thanks to digitalization. And you also see the benefits in the private sector, where we scale our business faster and better by actually having partners that helps our offering coming out to a greater extent than what we could have done ourselves. So there's no right or wrong, but of course in a partner setup that is working really well scales better than you having to recruit and deliver staff in order to deliver all your products yourself, sell all your products yourself, and so forth. So, but there's pros and cons with both strategies.
I guess in Denmark we have sort of seen a club of many different municipalities sort of competing with companies such as Formpipe.
Yeah.
Could you give us an update and a background regarding this club? What is that all about?
Well, I won't criticize, though. I think the initiative was for the greater good of society, is their belief anyway, and seeing that they, instead of buying standard software, they have bought consultants to build their system on their own. I believe over time that in a market that is competitive, and there's a lot of professional software developers in that market, that over time the private competitors will be a better choice for the taxpayers of those municipalities. We see that they have quite a big number of municipalities at the moment, but as far as I know, it has not increased the number of municipalities over the last 2 or 3 years. And we also see that a number of municipalities, instead of joining that club, now goes out in public tenders. So hard to tell, but it's in our world, I think our offering is really competitive, and I think in terms, back again, on scalability and maintenance cost and making sure that you get most of your money, I think the private players, us and our competitions, are a better bet for the taxpayers of Denmark. That's my view.
Mm-hmm. As a final question, I guess I'll have to ask, what are your key objectives and goals for 2020 now as we have entered this new year?
Yeah, I mean, I've touched base on it here. It's continue and accelerate growth on recurring revenue has been our main objective. And also, as you see with the two curves crossing each other on traditional license sales and SaaS, means that we are in a position where we're no longer sort of held back in growth from the SaaS transition, or we're getting to that point. So growth is essential for us. Now with the situation that with the corona as it is right now, it might be a bump on the road, but depending on how long this drags out, but we still foresee possibilities to continue to increase growth in recurring revenue. That is our main objective.
Thank you very much. I believe that our time is up, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.